Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Prachodayam Mudirayet. Shrotam Swakatam Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridiyantasto Hyat Abhadrani Vidinoti Suhrit Satam Nashtaprayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So it's verse number 17 that we're reading from chapter 1st of Canto 1, 1.1.17. Tasya karmani udarani parigitani suribhi ruhinaha ruhinaha shraddhadananam lilaya dadatham kalaha. Tasya karmani udarani parigitani suribhi ruhinaha shraddhadananam lilaya dadatah kalaha. Tasya karmani udarani parigitani suribihi ruhinaha shraddhadharanam ilaya dadatah kalaha. Synonyms. Tasya, his, karmani, transcendental acts, udarani, magnanimous, parigitani, broadcast, suribhi, by the great souls, Bruhi, please speak, Nah, unto us, Shraddha Dhananam, ready to receive with respect, Leelaya, pastimes, Dadhataha, advented, Kalaha, incarnations. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. His transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious, and great learned sages like Narada sing of them. Please therefore speak to us who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs in his various incarnations. Purport. The personality of Godhead is never inactive, as some less intelligent person suggest. His work are magnificent and magnanimous. His creation,
To
both
be well,
material
like to sit
and spiritual, are all wonderful and contains all variegatedness. Sorry, I'm trying mute. There's some audio sound coming from some mic, so I'm just muting. I'll read again. The personality of Godhead is never inactive, as some less intelligent persons suggest. His works are magnificent and magnanimous. His creations, both material and spiritual, are all wonderful and contain all variegatedness. They are described nicely by such liberated souls as Srila Narada, Vyasa, Valmiki, Devala, Asita, Madhava, Sri Chaitanya, Ramanuja, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarka, Sridhar, Vishwanath, Baladeva, Bhakti Vinoda, Siddhanta Saraswati, and many other learned and self realized souls. These creations, both material and spiritual, are full of opulence, beauty, and knowledge. But the spiritual realm is more magnificent due to its being full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. The material creations are manifested for some time as perverted shadows of the spiritual kingdom. and can be linked to cinemas. They attract people of less intelligent caliber who are attracted by the false things. Such foolish men have no information of the reality, and they take it for granted that the false material manifestation is the all in all. But more intelligent men, guided by sages like Vyasa and Narada, know that the eternal kingdom of God is more delightful, larger, and eternally full of bliss and knowledge. Those who are not conversant with the activities of the Lord and his transcendental realm are sometimes favored by the Lord in his adventures as incarnation, wherein he displays the eternal bliss of his association in the transcendental realm. By such activities, he attracts the conditioned souls of the material world. Some of these conditioned souls are engaged in the false enjoyment of material senses, and others in simply negating their real life in the spiritual world. These less intelligent persons are known as karmis or fruity workers and jnanis or dry mental speculators. But above these two classes of men is the transcendentalist, known as sat, sattvat or the devotee, who is busy neither with the rampant material activity nor with material speculation. He is engaged in the positive service of the Lord, and thereby he derives the highest spiritual benefit unknown to the karmis and jnanis. As the supreme controller of both the material and spiritual worlds, the Lord has different incarnations of unlimited categories. Incarnations like Brahma, Rudra, Manu, Prithu, Vyasa are his material qualitative incarnations. But his incarnations like Ram, Narasimha, Varaha, and Vamana are his transcendental incarnations. Lord Sri Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations, and he is therefore the cause of all causes. Om Jnanam Tivanandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuran Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Savadaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tasya karmani udarani, parigitani suribhi, ruhinna shraddhadananam, dilaya dadatah kalaha. His transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious, and great learned sages like Narada sing of them. Please, therefore, speak to us who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs in his various incarnations. So, when I was reading the purport of Srila Prabhupada, I was marveling at the patience and the compassion of Srila Prabhupada. He has given in the purport almost entire philosophy in one go. If someone was to get only this verse, if he gets Canto 1 on the street from devotees and he opens the pages and he just reads this one verse, this one purport, he will get the entire gist of the Vedic philosophy. He'll get the entire gist of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this verse, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada has beautifully explained how there's a spiritual world, how there's a material world, and how the conditioned soul is trying to enjoy the illusory energy of this material world, which is likened to cinemas. And he's also explaining how less intelligent people are attracted to such false things, and but those who are intelligent, they're guided by the superior intelligence of the realized souls like Vyasadeva, and he has given names of all the liberated souls. And I was, when you're a writer, you have mentioned those things somewhere. But look again, Srila Prabhupada is so liberal and so full of patience. He's given the names of the entire parampara again. Srila Narada, Vyasa, Valmiki, Deva, Lasita, Madhava, Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya, Ramanujacharya, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarkacharya, Sridhara, Vishwanath Chakrati Thakur, Baldev Vidya Bhushan, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur. So he's saying these are all self-realized souls, and intelligent people learn from these self-realized souls. And less intelligent people, they fall into two categories. One is karmi, who's trying to enjoy the fruits, and one is jnani, who's trying to negate the existence of the truth in the material on the personal platform. He's also, uh, so he's like a speculator, and this jnani, dry mental speculator. So then he concludes by saying that transcendentalist known as Sattvata, devotees, they are positively working towards the devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And like that, then he says that in there are multiple guna avatars and lila avatars, which are, he's mentioned here, qualitative incarnations, guna avatars, the Brahma, the Rudra, Manu, Prathu, Vyasa, like that. And then there are incarnations like Lord Ram, Lord Nrsimha, Varahadev, Vamana, etc. So that's what Srila Prabhupada has explained in the purport here. We recall that how compassionately the sages are asking the questions, and the chapter is entitled as Questions by the Sages. And if you recall, we see that the sages are asking certain questions, one of which being, what is the most beneficial for the humanity? So somebody may think opening hospitals, somebody may think giving good education, somebody may think economical sufficiency, development, etc. And some may have ideas of spirituality. But here, when they have asked this question, the intent in their heart is to give the best of the best solution to the world's material problems, the old age, the disease, the birth, and the death. So, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, what is the most beneficial for humanity? And then we'll hear the answers. And the second question was asked that what is the duties given in Vedic scriptures which are most essential? And then why does Krishna appear as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki? And then it talks about describe Krishna's pastimes, and then describe the pastimes of Krishna's other incarnations, and in whom did religious principles take shelter after Krishna left this world. So this particular verse is in continuation of describe the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Now, if we look at the words here, I was also looking at beautiful words that are used as a translation. If you look at karmani, means transcendental acts. So the act of the Lord is not of this world. They are not material. And we will understand this in a while, why they are not material. They are transcendental. They are beyond the modes of nature. They are beyond the reach of the knowledge that a living entity can apply in the conditioned stage. They perhaps conditioned soul cannot even imagine to understand the activities of the Lord because they are transcendental. They are beyond the modes of nature. Hence, they are beyond the reach of the conditioned souls. They cannot physically or with senses or with intelligence reach there. And therefore, so these are transcendental. Now, how does transcendental knowledge will reach to the conditioned soul? It will reach when the qualified pure devotees of the Lord who understand the transcendental activities of the Lord explain to us. And this is exactly what this verse is doing. This verse is saying that please broadcast to us, broadcasted by the great souls. Give us that knowledge which is broadcasted, or learned sages like Narada. This is in translation mentioned Narad, but in purport there are so many learned sages that Srila Prabhupada has added. So he's saying that please give us that knowledge. Who is going to give us? Those who are already realized, who understand the transcendence, who has reached to understand the purity, the pure sattva of the pure truth about the absolute. They can give us this knowledge. Then they say, please therefore speak to us. And then the word used is Shraddha, Shraddha Nanam, Shraddha Nanam, Shraddha Dhanam, ready to receive with respect. Now, here we can see how we have to receive this transcendental knowledge. How do we have to, how do we qualify to receive transcendental knowledge? So I was reading through the book Bhagavad Subodhini, compiled by His Grace Gaurang Darshan Prabhu. He has compiled qualities of the speaker and qualities of the hearer. So for a little while, we'll just focus on the qualities of the hearer. So we can see that Naimisharanya sages, as headed by Shaunaka Rishi, they are very respectful to who? Srila Sut Goswami, because they understand that Srila Sut Goswami can take away their ignorance and can bring light and knowledge to the ignorance, because they were all trying to do some 1,000 years of yagna, fire sacrifices. And when they heard that such a calamity will come, as the age of Kali will progress, the age of quarrelsome will progress, the conditioned souls, living entities, they will have very little memory. They will be very, very quarrelsome, and they will forget things. They will be misguided. So like that, when they heard, they will have less intelligence to understand spiritual subject matters. So they started to think, what is it that is good for the society? And they understood that Srila Sud Goswami can tell us. So they offered him very nice, beautiful platform. They built a platform, a nice Vyasasan for him to sit on it. And what else? They are eager to hear. Brihana Shaddhadhananam. The third line that you read in English is describing that. They were ready to receive with respect. They were eager to hear from Srila Sud Goswami. Not only that, they are very inquisitive because they're compassionate in their heart, they're compassionate, hence, they want to know the solution. For example, if some student is there and he wants to solve a problem of mathematics, then and he's serious student, then he would like to learn the techniques of how to solve that problem. He would like to find a teacher who can explain, and if he has been trying to solve that all day, and end of the day, let's say his father is a teacher, then when his father comes home, he said, Dad, this is what the problem is. How do I solve the problem? And then he sits nicely with patient, and father starts to explain, and then he can perhaps solve the problem. So such a joy is there because there is an attitude of understanding with the view of solving the problem for others. Similarly, we see here how they are compassionate in their heart and they want to solve the problem of the world, problem for all living entities to come through the Kali Yuga. So they're waiting for that solution and they're therefore very, very inquisitive. They're asking this barrage of questions, which is around the ultimate good of human life. So, so there are so many questions, which shows that they're very eager and inquisitive. And they're also wanting to hear from the authority like Sud Goswami. Many of them were sages themselves. But when they heard that Sud Goswami, Romaharshan's son, is coming, who was present in front of Sukdev Goswami, and he has heard the whole discourse, they wanted to hear from the authority. Not that anybody can come and explain the transcendental subject matter. It has to be explained by somebody who has already understood it and is at the platform of transcendence. So, which also shows that the hearer of Srimad-Bhagavatam have so much of faith in the speaker. They're putting their entire faith in the speaker that he can he can remove our doubts. Not only that, they have faith in the speaker. They are also praising the speaker, glorifying Sud Goswami, and they're glorifying that how he has learned everything and how he's so capable of disseminating their doubts. So they're not losing the opportunity to glorify the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam. And um, they, of course, they have compassion in their heart. They're very grateful because they're saying, by the will of the providence, you have come here. They're so eager to know about the Lord. And one more thing that we see that the sages, they're not fatigued at all. When somebody is doing their hobby, and if somebody's doing their work for 7 8 hours, but if somebody's doing their hobby, then we can see that how that person is never bored doing their hobby, right? And whereas if it is a work, then you might just feel, oh, I want to get out of it and do what I really want to do. So for sages, this is what they want to do. They want to bring good fortune to every living entity. And therefore, when we see that while hearing, they're never ever tired or fatigued at all. They're always, you learn in 1.1.19, they're always very, very alert and not tired at all. And they're always encouraging the speaker to speak more and they want to know more. So these are some of the qualities that can be seen that that makes the speaker also very qualified to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. And perhaps we can take this essence of, uh, of how we can hear Srimad Bhagavatam. What is the qualification of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? So One has to be very respectful to the speaker. One has to hear from the authorized sources. One has to be very respectful. One has to be very inquisitive, ask questions, be compassionate for the larger cause of the society, be grateful to the providence and to the Lord to be able to uh, hear from such an authoritative person, authority, a person with that kind of lineage, not authoritative, authority, person with authority of understanding Srimad Bhagavatam. So one must never feel tired or bored in the matter of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And so, like this, we can see one should be very grateful uh, for the occasion that has been given for them to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. This kind of qualifies the hearer. Someday we'll also talk about what are the qualifications of the speaker. But for now, they should be in the lineage and they should be in the platform of self-realization. Now, all of us are hearing and talking about Srimad Bhagavatam. Uh, so, in true sense, uh, I mean, one can say that, well, we are not self-realized souls. We are trying to practice bhakti in our own little ways and efforts. But one cannot deny the authority of Srila Prabhupada's lineage and authority on the subject, and how beautifully he has presented the subject matter in such a simple way to all of us. So when we are repeating his words, when we are repeating his purpose, when we are talking in line with his conceptualizations, with his examples, with his analogies, and we're not losing the essence, then it has a potency. Then it carries the same potency as a pure devotee of the Lord, because we're just repeating his words, and therefore then it is in the line of authority. And that way we can completely benefit by reading his books. Now, in this particular verse, it is explained by Srila Jiva Goswami that Sukadev, Shaunak Rishi is specifically referring to the Lord's pastimes of the universal creation. If we look at this, Leelaya Dadataha Kalaha, pastimes, Kalaha means incarnations. I'm very tempted to go to this verse, but I think the time will not allow us. Etaha Chamsa Kalaha Pumsat Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, which says that Krishna is the Lord, is the supreme Lord himself, and all the other incarnations are the expansions and expansions of his expansions, either of them. So, like that, this kala word is used in this verse. So I kind of remembered that particular verse. But because time is less, some other day we'll go to that verse. Right now, we want to focus on what are the kala or incarnations that is being discussed or asked on this particular verse. Because this next verse also, there's a discussion around the incarnation of the Lord. Therefore, Jeev Goswami has explained that in this particular verse, the discussion is that they want to know. I'll just read from the book of Purijan Prabhu. He has mentioned here. Srila Jeev Goswami explains that Sonika is specifically referring to the Lord's pastimes of universal creation. The answer to this question will be presented in 1.2.30. And in the beginning of the material creation, absolute personality of Godhead in his transcendental position created the energies of cause and effect by his own eternal energy. Please therefore speak to us who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs. So these are the adventures which are mentioned. What are the adventures? That he, by his own energy, creates and maintains the entire material universes. And how does he do that? By expanding as Purusha avatars. And there's Mahavishnu, there's Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, there's Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So all these are Purusha avatars of, uh, of the Lord. And this is very adventurous because one would like to understand how these Purusha avatars are working. How are they creating? How are they maintaining? And it's a mystery. Scientists can never reach to these kind of conclusions ever by their mundane perspective, because they will continue to speculate there was a big bang and somehow the life came into existence, not knowing the personality behind is the Supreme Lord Himself. And how does He create? So we understand from Srimad-Bhagavatam that the there are three super souls, so to say. Uh, one is, or the Purusha avatars. One is Karanadakshay Vishnu, who's lying on the causal ocean. There's an ocean of Karana. There's a substance called as Karan, causal oceans. And so he's lying in that causal ocean, and just by his breathing, just when he's breathing, there are innumerable universes which are getting created from the pores of his hairs while he is breathing. And when he's when he's exhaling, then there are thousands and thousands of universes are getting withdrawn by his breath, and that is Karuna Akshay Vishnu. Mm. And he's the one, just by his glance, he's agitating the Mahatattva, which creates the three modes of nature. We'll understand these in great details in the second canto. And it's very exciting, it's very interesting how this whole creation is happening in such a transcendental way. And then this Karbudakshay Vishnu, this Karanodakshaya Vishnu, when he creates this entire so many universes, he then chooses to go into each of these universes as Garbhodakshay Vishnu in the ocean of Garbhak ocean, Garbhodak ocean. So there he's lying down in Yoga Nidra on the beautiful Shesh incarnation. And he's also known as Narayana in that roop. He's also known as Hiranya Garbha or Virata Rupa, etc. From his navel appears Lord Brahma, as we know. And if we read Brahma Samhita, we'll see some descriptions in Brahma Samhita. And then once Lord Brahma is born, etc., then Brahma is going to create so many more living entities. And the creation happens. And then this Garbhodakshay Vishnu chooses to enter into each and every living entity as super soul, or what we know of as Chirodakshay Vishnu. You see, this Chirodakshay Vishnu enters as localized Paramatma in the heart, has a size of a thumb, and it's got four-arm formation, and that's really like the form in the Vaikuntha, carrying a lotus, a wheel of a chariot, a conch shell, and a club. And he's around 8 inches high, which is what is mentioned. So in the hearts of all living beings, and even it is declared that he's present in every atomic particle. Every atomic particle he's present, and his resident is pole star, which is mentioned as Sweta Dvipa, and he's the third expansion. He's known as Vishnu, Hari, Paramatma, as we know him. And those who are meditating, the process of meditation, they meditate upon the supreme soul in their hearts. And that's how the yogi begin their process of yoga or meditation. So these are the three Purusha avatars that are specifically asked in this particular verse. We won't know this unless we are explained by Srila Jiva Goswami, because in the next verse, it will be about Leela avatars of the Lord. So I would like to stop here. I've given a lot of information right now. Many of the devotees who have been hearing continuously or who speak, they must know all of it. But those who may not have heard, there could be these couple of difficult words. You can refer to some of the books. As I mentioned last time, we have this Bhagavad Subodhani. You can refer to that. We have this Unveiling the Lotus Feet. You can refer to that. And we have this beautiful book, The Sages of Naimisharanya, by His Grace Krishna Dharma Prabhu. You can refer to that. It's written in a very contemporary manner and beautiful way. So if there is any question, we can take the question. Or if there are any comments, we can take the comment.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, thank you so much for explaining it so well. Prabhuji, would you repeat the bit again where you said it's 8 inches long, 8 inches? I didn't understand that bit, Prabhuji.
Okay, so Paramatma, which is in the form of who is present in the super soul in every living entity, in the heart of every living entity. Krishna says that bit in Bhagavad Gita also. Hridi sannivishto, mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha. Sarvasya cha aham hridi sannivishto, mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha. So Krishna says that I am present in heart of every living entity. Now, what is that form in which he is present in heart of every living entity? He is present in the form of super soul. And that is the description of super soul. Super soul is around 8-inch long, and which is the height of the super soul, and he is in the form of four-armed Vishnu form, as you find them in the Vaikuntha. So 8 inches high, four-handed, carrying a lotus, a wheel of a chariot, a conch shell, and a club. This is specified in Canto 2nd, Chapter 2nd, Shloka number 8 to 11. When you get time, please, you can look at Veda base 228 to 11. Is that clear
Prabhuji.
now?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. Prabhuji, maybe another question then, if that's okay. So, Prabhuji, isn't correct me if I'm wrong, Prabhuji, okay, because I don't have so much knowledge, Prabhuji, but the soul is almost 10,000 part of one hair, isn't it, Prabhuji? Is that right?
One by
So then
10,000 part of the tip of the hair.
exactly, Prabhuji. So then super soul is 8 inches. Is that's the reason, Prabhuji, I asked this question.
Uh-huh.
Okay, understood.
Yes,
Okay,
this is
thank
what is mentioned. What I heard previously was size of the thumb, because that is
right.
what Parikshit Maharaj saw in the womb when he was saved by Lord Krishna. So it is explained that when Aswathama released the nuclear weapon, at that time, there was a heat which was generated in the womb of Uttara, and Parikshit was to be saved. And she then called out to Lord Krishna to save. Now, there was no other way to save except that localized Paramatma go and shield Parikshit in the womb.
Right.
And then Parikshit saw this beautiful, beautiful darshan of super soul in the heart, which was exactly this description, which is also coming in Srimad-Bhagavatam. So, yes, analytically, there's a difference between the sizes. At the same time, this is what is described. And we have the evidences from the story of Parikshit, pastimes of Parikshit Maharaj himself. Therefore, his name became Parikshit. He was looking after, where is that beautiful form of the Lord when he was born that I saw in my mother's womb, who saved me?
Understood. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hmm.
Hare Krishna.
Very nice. Okay. So do you have a flow chart of Garbhodakshay, Kshirodakshay, Vishnu? Uh, I think there's a lot of information in Bhagavad Subodhini. If you purchase this book, it will help you all to understand the structure. But it's very simple. When there is a discussion on creation, which will be in the Canto 2 perhaps, a great deal of creation, we'll put together. I have some PowerPoint charts that I refer to. I'll show and explain to you how Garbhodakshay Vishnu or Karunadakshay Vishnu, then the Garbhodakshay Vishnu, then Chirodakshay Vishnu. These three Vishnus are related to the creation and the maintenance aspect. And is there any other? Okay, how can Paramatma be 8 inches in an ant? Ah, we are definitely trying to put our uh, material knowledge Uh, and it is good to challenge sometimes. So we have to understand that even though, let's get into the details of it. A soul is 1 by 10,000 part of the tip of the hair. This is what the soul is. But what we see in a man, we see sometimes 4 feet long, or 5 feet, or 7 feet, or maybe at the most 7 to 8 feet long height. Where is that coming from? So what we see gross by our gross eyes, somebody can challenge that. And what are you saying? Are you really saying that 1 by 10,000 part of the tip of the hair is is really driving this massive height and weight? And it's surprising or astonishing. It's the same soul in the body of an ant, and it's the same soul in the body of the elephant. Elephant can eat up to 40 kilo of food in one go. Same little spark of life. Basically, this spark of life that we can't see is very, very powerful because it can move the matter, however big or small the matter is. And the soul has its own subtle body. If hasn't got its subtle body, then mind, intelligence, and false ego, uh, they won't exist. Where they exist in their subtle form. The soul has its own subtle form, which may have its height, its shape, its form. So as soon as we leave the body and we become liberated, we can obtain our original swarup or our original form. So the original form exists, therefore, we are wearing this material form like a garment. That is how it is explained. So uh, now this is subtle. Similarly, subtle means it's beyond matter. It's beyond matter. And similarly, Lord Krishna's expansions, they're all transcendental. We cannot see them by our material eyes, and they can be present as a super soul. They are present in the super as a form of super soul in the heart, but they are subtle. They are present in the heart of every living entity. Now, this subtle formation uh, is not only present in ant, it is present in microorganisms, it is present in the dull matter also, in atomic particles, which are micro, which you cannot see, you can see only with the help of microscopes. So then one can question how that Paramatma is residing there. But because that Paramatma is residing there, because Paramatma is responsible, I'll repeat this verse again from Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasacham Hridi Samnivishto Matah Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. It is said that intelligence, Smritir, remembrance, Jnanam, knowledge, Matah Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha, and forgetfulness. Everything is inspired by the super soul. Mata Smriti, he is responsible. It is because of super soul that human being is able to think or has some intelligence, has some remembrances, has some memory, have some knowledge. Mata Smriti Jnanam Apohanam. So this is why the evidence that super soul is present, because we all have knowledge, we have remembrances, but because of it is all because of super soul. The super soul is present. Now, with our own ideas of calculations, we are thinking 8-inch long, and therefore the 8-inch how is going to fit into a 1 centimeter or 1 mm of ant. Now, that we cannot understand this because that ant has its own spiritual body, which is much more beyond than that ant's body. Ultimately, it's a spirit soul who has got a divine form when it will be taken away from the bondage or the cage of that body, then it'll express itself in that divine form. And similarly, Lord can also go and sit in that divine form, in that restricted small dimensional body. So that's like example, Lord can fit uh, big banyan trees in the seed of that banyan tree. And you saw that the banyan tree, again, there's a huge banyan tree. So each of the banyan tree has a seed. In each of those seeds are there, again, huge banyan trees. And there's a cycle like that. Similarly, we can try to understand that this thing is possible, because this is how the Lord's mysticism works, opulence of the Lord, beyond our logic and capability to analytically, to understand it on a material platform. I hope that answers the question. Thank you. Okay. So is there any other question or
Prabhuji, there is one question in the chat. When will stories in Bhagavatam start? Surabhi Mataji is asking.
Ah, so you want to hear the stories. Okay. Basically, stories means as soon as we finish a couple of chapters, the story will come in of what do you call of Mahabharat. So those stories will start to come in. And right now we are trying to understand the philosophy, but in chapter 4th, we will, in chapter 3 itself, we'll start to see the incarnations of Krishna. Then we start to see the appearance of Narad Dev, and how there's a conversation between Narad and Vyasa. Then it all flow into how Dronacharya is punished and what happened to Queen Kunti and how Parikshit is saved, how Bhishmadev is passed away, and how Lord Krishna departs to Dwarika, etc. And we'll see how Parikshit Maharaj's birth happens, and Dhritarashtra also quits home, and Lord Krishna disappears from the material world, and what happens to Pandavas finally, and how Age of Kali appears in front of Parikshit, and they're punished and rewarded, um, by Parikshit Maharaj, and then we'll see how the Maharaj Parikshit is cursed by this Brahmin boy, and finally Sukdev Goswami appears in the scene to give the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is all Canto 1. So what you're hearing right now, chapter first, second, all of that, they're philosophically oriented to give us an understanding who Lord Krishna is. And then as we go into chapter in Canto second has also a lot of aspects of creation and third, and then we'll see how when you have a very strong philosophical base, you start to appreciate the mysticism and the with so many learnings and understanding. So that's how it is. So therefore, we have to wait. We have to wait. A pregnant woman, she can't have the child right away. Srila Prabhupada says that 9 months you have to wait to see that result. So to relish those pastimes, we have to go through this understanding, and then we'll be able to appreciate these pastimes much more deeper and nicer. And I'm sure the philosophy will also satisfy the inquisitiveness of our heart. Okay, there are two new messages. Okay, thank you. Yes, that's what wanted to know Parikshit's story. Okay, it's going to come soon. All right, I think shall we say this to be the end of the class if there's no more questions, I think. Okay. Thank you very much, all the devotees, to come and be present here in such large numbers and showing your eagerness to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm very sure that with all of your eagerness, all the speakers are enthused and want to share a lot more of Srimad Bhagavatam as they understand by Srila Prabhupada, other acharyas. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Prabhupada. Kripa Sindhu
devascha
Patitanam Pramavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
devyo
Thank
namaha.
you.
Prabhuji,
Thank you
Hare
very
Krishna,
much.
Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Thank
Thank you very
you.
much, Prabhu. Hare
Thank
Hare
you.
Rama.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. A very
Hare
good
Krishna,
class.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna,
Thank
everyone.
you. Hare Krishna,
Thank
Hare
everyone.
you.
Krishna,
Hari Bo.
everyone.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Mataji. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. None of it pronouns.
Jai Prabhuji, Dandavat. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna to everyone.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Very good class.